What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a special episode 75 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and we have a fun show for you guys tonight. Not only are we going to cover all of the two-day wagers, except the pick six, of course. That is the Oaks Derby Double, the Oaks Turf Classic Derby Pick 3, the Saturday 3-year-old Pick 3, which is like the $3 Turf Pick 3s, where it's a base bet of $3 going over the three-year-old races of the day, and the Kentucky Derby superfecta. And we're going to give our ticket construction and our thoughts on how we want to weigh opinions more than others and how that can create profitability above all else. Guys, like I said, it's going to be a fun show. Thank you guys all so much for joining in. But for right now, guys, as you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now, you'll see in a sec, bettinandboozin@gmail.com is the email. Please email me with any questions, comments, or concerns. Also scrolling real quick right now, you will see it. Please go down below the video player on YouTube, hit the like button, and hit subscribe. It's the easiest and best way to help out our channel. Is not only would it give you guys first access to all of the HHH Racing Podcast episodes, including the remaining of the Derby coverage here on the HHH Racing Podcast, but also everything going forward, because even when the Derby is done, horse racing doesn't stop. But also, please go down below. Like I said, like the video. Liking is the easiest way to help out our channel, and the fact that not only does it show you guys are liking the content, but also it will push this video out into the YouTube algorithm to get like-minded people like yourself into the channel. And for that, we thank you. Guys, if you didn't see it earlier, Howard, Pete, and Paul covered the Kentucky Oaks late pick 5. That was about 2 hours, live 2 hours before this show. Please go check that out if you haven't already, after, of course, you watch this show. And tomorrow is going to be, our show is going to be first sometime around 5. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. We are going to cover the 4 Kentucky Derby undercard stakes that are outside of the late pick 5. But fear not, as Howard, Pete, Paul will be taking on, and I believe they're going to have some special guests on, so be prepared for that. But they will be covering the Kentucky Derby late pick 5 at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, prime time here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Shows you guys are not going to want to miss. I said sorry, Brad. I was laughing at your comment. But guys, let's get through these peripherals here, and then we will get into our ticket construction and kind of going through how the flow of this show is going to work. Like I said, please go down below the video player, like, comment, and subscribe. Comment how you're going to play. Comment your tickets, and of course, in the live chat, please put them in. Love to have a discussion tonight for about an hour or so, going through these different sequences with you guys. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor, of course, if you don't know, is where we post every single episode of the HHH Racing Podcast in audio form. If you're more of an audio listener or want to listen to it while you're at the gym, driving, whatever you want to do, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor is where you find those. The Power Picks, guys, still some time to sign up. It's getting very close to the end of signups. I believe we'll cut it off maybe like Thursday midday, because I know Howard and obviously the rest of us are going to the Kentucky Derby, so he's going to get these out earlier. So let's say, for Bettin N Boozin purposes, let's say Wednesday at midnight. If you subscribe, you'll still be available to get our full Kentucky Derby package for the same price, only $4 for the weekend, $15.99 a month is how it's billed through Patreon. For only $4, you'll get the full and fleshed out Kentucky Derby power picks. Everything you need to be successful this Derby weekend will come to you in those power picks, price plays, spot plays, top 3 picks of every single stakes race on the weekend. Not going to want to miss that again. And it's only $4. One of the most profitable and most affordable tip sheets on all of the podcast world. Patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for that. And if you guys want to buy or see any previous editions of the Power Picks before you buy, or want to know anything about us, HHHRacingPodcast.com is the place for that. Also, shout out to the boss himself. He's putting polls in the chat. They pop up right above the chat box on the right side of the screen. Please go vote in those polls. He brings out some pretty good questions, honestly. Like the one he has right now is, will he be playing more vertically or horizontally this weekend? So kind of giving, just getting a gauge of whether you guys are more horizontal players this weekend, or you guys are going to play more verticals, win bets, exactas, tries, stuff like that. So please vote in those polls to decide. Guys, I'm going to bring on my co-host, then we'll go through who is here in the chat, and then we will get into the construction. Unfortunately, Patrick is stuck at work right now. Hopefully he can join us midway through the show, but Noah's doing gestures in the camera. No one else can see him, but I can. Fantastic. Anyway, I got the two guys that are going to be with me from the University of Kentucky, the aforementioned Noah Maher, and from the Ohio State University, Charlie Freeman. Boys, what's going on?
What's good? I'm excited to take more strategical angle today.
Welcome to the show.
I shout out to that's
shout
an inside joke for
shout out to those who handicap the best track in the world.
Good good inside joke there for you guys. But either way, guys, let's go through the chat here. We have Joseph's here, Katie of course is here, Nick Feldman says this should be a fun episode. Absolutely. Brad Anderson is here, Christopher is here, Gary is here. Let's structure tickets, bet and booze, what everyone loves to do. Gary, of course, it's a Twisted Tea type of night for me, and probably a Twisted Tea type of weekend for that matter. Kathy Hamlin is here. Thanks so much for joining the show. TC Markham, Mark Bogas, of course, is here. Sean Kane, let's get the booze on. Jim Polars is, of course, here. And Brad Anderson says, your painter has been busy. Pink last show, and now tonight red. Who knows what tomorrow will bring, Brad? Maybe I'll even get the painter to somehow paint a little bit of movement behind me in the lights. Of course, I have two lights behind me, solid red, pink for yesterday when we did the Oaks, red today for different ways to play the Derby, and maybe something new tomorrow. Brad, I love that. Thanks so much for joining the show. Kathy's drinking on vodka. Blue Shivas for Under Okay. Shout out to you for joining the show. Marco from LA is here. Thanks so much, Marco, for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. And Stole It Breezing. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Could not agree more. Boys, like I said, so this is how this show is going to go. We're going to go through these different types of sequences, starting with probably from the least complicated to the most complicated is kind of how I'm wanting to structure this. So first, we'll probably go through Oaks Derby Double. We've already talked about the Oaks at length. If you didn't watch that show last night of Bettin N Boozin, episode number 74, we live streamed a full preview of the Kentucky Oaks. Please go and check that one out. And then the Derby, which we talked about on Sunday night with every single co-host, including Howard, Pete, and Paul. Please go check that one out. So we'll go through that one first as we've gone through both those races at length now at this point. Next one will be the Oaks Turf Classic and Derby Pick 3, incorporating the two races that we used, but then throwing in the Turf Classic in the mix, the race before the Derby that is race 11 on Saturday. And both these turf races that we're going to talk about are unbelievable and completely wide open. You'll see it by the tickets that I have. And then, of course, ending in the Derby. The next sequence we'll cover is structured like the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, a little bit topical from this past month, where you have three races instead of being on turf. They're the three-year-old races on the card. It is race number 8 on Saturday. That is, of course, the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile. Race number 9, which is the Grade 2 American Turf, and then ending with the Kentucky Derby. And again, $3 base minimum, guys. So you got to be really careful and specific with your selections in order to increase your profitability and really leverage your opinions. So that's a really nice one to talk about ticket construction on, with a $3 base minimum. And of course, the last one we'll end off with is the Derby superfecta. So just covering different ways with the Derby in the bet necessarily, but it's just different ways to play the Derby rather than either playing a double into or an exacta or a trifecta or just a simple win bet. We're going to cover all these different sequences that many of you might not even know exist this year. There are a few new ones that have come on. Obviously, the Oaks Derby Double has been around for a lot, but correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I believe this is the first year of the $3 3-year-old pick 3, which I think is a very, very interesting wager. And again, I love that. I'm a very big advocate of the $3 turf pick 3. So kind of translates right into it. But I just think that this is going to be a very interesting show, incorporating a little bit of tips on ticket construction and how to leverage your opinions. But guys, like I said, we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to get right into it here, kind of spend 10 to 15 minutes per sequence and get you guys out of here about an hour and 5 into the show. I will be completely honest with you guys. I am a little behind putting these in. So Charlie, you have the floor, my friend. Like I said, we're going to go over the Oaks Derby double first. I don't really need to show the fields, but I will, just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher. If somehow you guys have forgotten in the past 24 hours on the Oaks or Derby field, I'm sure you haven't, but just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher, it's of course 14 horses by 20 horses. And as I bring up the field for the Kentucky Oaks right here, and I'm like I said, guys, I'm a little all over the place right now, which I do apologize for. I am going to show it on the screen right now. There's your field for the 150th running of the Kentucky Oaks. Your favorite is the number 8, Tarifa, which, you know, we were talking about yesterday. Will she go off as the favorite? We're not too sure, but there's a lot of horses vying for that favoritism. And of course, your field for the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. The biggest change, guys, of that, of course, if you haven't heard, is the number 9 Encino scratching out of this field, which brings in the number 21 Epic Ride, which again, outside speed could involve a little bit more, making fierceness work a little bit more. People have talked about at length already and what he's going to do. And again, tune in tomorrow for the Kentucky Derby late pick 5 with Howard Pete and Paul if you want their take on how that affects the field. But that is, of course, the biggest change for the Oaks Derby double, guys. This is the one bet I'm usually all for, either trying to find a single double or a 2x1 double, something leveraging one horse. But with these doubles, with so much money pouring into these pools, realistically, I would assume all of these doubles are going to be double digits. And maybe like I saw Torpedo Anna. They have like an advanced wagering mechanic on Naira Bets. Torpedo Anna was like way less than everybody else. No, I saw Tarifa at like 10-1 at some point, and Ways and Means at like 8-1. Torpedo Anna was, blank to 5 for the longest time. So that makes me think Torpedo Anna is really going to take a lot of money off that buzz, like we talked about yesterday. So, maybe a Torpedo Anna fierceness double, but either way, guys, what I'm trying to say is no matter where you look, you're going to get value with this bet, which allows you to be able to play a few more horses than you would and still get a decent amount of value that you're looking for. And see, TC Markham is right there, 2-1 on the early Oaks pools, and that's for Torpedo Anna. Tarifa right now is at 9-1. I mean, you want a 7-2 on Tarifa, Noah. What about 9-1? That gives you a little bit now. Do you want to lock that in? I would be lying if I didn't put anything on her to win. And like I said, there's so many different ways you can go. TC Markham does say Torpedo Anna will be the Oaks favorite, like we've been talking about. He also says Tarifa's done nothing wrong, which I don't disagree with you by any means, but there's just a lot of fun ways to go about this Oaks Derby double. Charlie, you're going 3x3, and we talk about it on the show a lot. Like I said, is leveraging the opinions, but in something like this, you kind of get a little bit more leeway with the prices that these horses are going to be, albeit, Charlie, we always talk about, Dutching doubles, and I want to kind of get your thing. Is that something you're looking at maybe doing rather than just going a straight 3x3? You want to kind of leverage like weighted system in a way, like the ABC system we talk about, or are you going to play straight up 3x3? You are 5-8-11 by 2-4-8 in the Oaks Derby double.
I mean, realistically, I'll probably do like kind of like weighted Dutching, if you will, kind of, within my 3x3, those are my 3 A's I have in each race. But obviously within them, you have a top 3 that you give a specific order in for a reason. So like for me personally, I know Noah agrees with me, like Tarifa is my top pick. And also Noah would agree with me. Sierra Leone is our top pick in the Derby. So I'm sure the Tarifa into Sierra Leone double, I'm probably going to want to make sure I'm putting the most on. Now, obviously, admittedly, for Torpedo Anna, who I have in third, if that horse is taking significant money, I probably wouldn't overreact too much, but I would kind of have to reevaluate to see if there's enough value, because I think that's what this comes down to at the end of the day is value. And if I don't see Torpedo Anna is like that significantly ahead of the rest of the field, but that's how low value you're getting, I'm not just, going to settle on that. But yeah, for me, I kind of agree with what you were saying, though, is I feel like normally, in a double, when we give them out on our show, we go 1x2 or 2x1, or every once in a while, maybe 2x2. But because there's so many horses and so much value, I felt like for my realistic budget to still get the value I'm looking for, I kind of felt like going 3x3 was the sweet spot of what I was looking for. Now, I will say, if you feel strong enough about one race or the other, you absolutely can go 2x4, or even 5x1 or 6x1 if you feel that strong. I just personally, as much as I love Sierra Leone, it's the damn Derby. Like I don't want to be biased just because we have a future. I want to be realistic here, and so for me, I just felt 3x3 is the realistic range for me to play in.
Well, and the thing that we talked about, right, is we'll take the future bet into account here. That's basically, that's money that's locked in that doesn't, for your betting strategy wise, we talked about how it doesn't really have too much leverage for me. I'm going to basically play like I was going to play anyway. And that one, if Sierra Leone does end up winning, that's kind of just a cherry on top. And like you said, that's kind of what you're taking in the fact that you have Sierra Leone in there, which you would have in there anyway, but also Catching Freedom and Just a Touch.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just about the idea of, like you said, putting that to the side and knowing it's a great opportunity for us to be excited about. But you can't let it overwhelm you and dictate all your plans and ideas and think, okay, well, I can't afford to bet against Sierra Leone. I have to put all my eggs in one basket. There's, we talked about I wasn't on the show, but there was a show talking about should we hedge. And obviously, in no way, shape, or form would I be playing enough money on these doubles to be able to hedge enough necessarily. But at the same time, I guess if they are actually, I guess for the portion I'm in for, I honestly could hedge simply because, like you're saying, if they're all paying double-digit odds, I wouldn't have to spend crazy amounts on these doubles where if Sierra Leone doesn't end up winning, then I could still make it. But like you said, I solely took the strategy of when we've, talked about on our show before where our best bets have been doubles. I took that same, strategy of just who are my A's in that race that I feel strong about. I mean, for me, I happen to only have 3 A's in each race, but, sometimes I might have, 2 A's and 3 B's, but I feel strong about only 3 of those 5 that kind of stick out more that I feel like I had to play. And so the way you described it is exactly right. I just focused on who do I think are my realistic contenders, regardless of what biases or other stuff I have. If I just looked at this without this future, how would I play it? And I played it accordingly.
Well, that's exactly right. And I see a lot of comments in the chat. This is also what I wanted to touch on. And again, guys, feel free if you guys have perspective tickets, what you think you're going to play, or you have provisional drawn up, please put them in the chat. I want to have a discussion about bringing in everyone else's tickets and kind of talking through it as well. It's just a really fun. All these sequences are extremely fun to play. And the one thing I want to answer is that a lot of people are talking about Dutching has a lot to come into effect with you can bet probables based on with your ADW based on where the money's going. So like if you want to play, let's say like race 9 to 10 to Gulfstream today. If you're betting a double in race 9, you can go on your ADW app and see the different probables that pay. Let's see, like the 8-5 pays 4-1 and the 8-7 pays 6-1, and then you can mess with your original betting amounts to be able to get to the same dollar amount that you would win. That's basically what Dutching is and what they're talking about, the probables. I'm going to Dutch it in the way, if there's no probables, the win odds, and obviously this is nothing for certain, of course, but the win odds, if Torpedo Anna goes off at 2-1, 5-2, which I'm not, just spitballing. If she goes off at 5-2, weighs it means at 4-1, Tarifa 4-1, something like that. You can kind of get a sense on where the money's going to go in that Oaks Derby double, albeit we all know there's a lot of, not casual money, I want to say, but, there's a lot of money going into these Oaks and Derby pools that wouldn't be there otherwise if it wasn't obviously for Oaks and Derby weekend. So, you can kind of base it off there. Obviously nothing's for certain, but Dutching it in the way that if, like I said, Tarifa is double the odds of Torpedo Anna, play a little more on Torpedo Anna, Charlie, and then kind of, back up a little bit on Tarifa to kind of hopefully get around the same payout. So again, 3x3 is nothing wrong with that. That's just 9x your bet. You play it for, $5. That's $45. And, you get one, let's say you get Tarifa over Sierra Leone. That probably pays, somewhere in like the $80 range, maybe for $5, something like that. It's just the matter of that there's so much money in these pools, your ability to, include more horses skyrockets. And Noah, I want to go to you, my friend, next, because I really like what you've done here. This is why this is what Noah is doing to leverage his best opinions. For those of you that have followed this show for a long time, you know how high Noah has been on Tarifa. He has two different doubles for you guys. One singling the 8 Tarifa in the Oaks, going 2-8-17. That's Sierra Leone just a touch in fierceness in the double. Or he's going to single Sierra Leone in the Derby on a different ticket and go 8-11-14 in the Oaks, being Tarifa, Ways and Means, and Leslie's Rose. Noah, like I said, we talk about leveraging all the time, and that's really well done, sir. Except he's frozen. Oh no, the freaking
you stunned him. You stunned. That was. I don't think he's used to you complimenting him. I think you left him in shock. I think he's absolutely stunned.
He looks stunned, does he not? But
he looks pretty surprised. But right, no, I mean, while we wait for him, I'll say what please. My kind of thoughts is, because I know we talked a lot about this, is kind of getting to, and that's why you were saying even in the chat to try to have people share their opinions. It's so important to get to view different ways and perspectives, because like you touched on, well, for me, I have Tarifa on top, just like Noah and Sierra Leone, like we talked about. Admittedly, I don't feel quite as strong about Tarifa, so I don't necessarily feel trustworthy enough to do this flexibility. But we talk about this again. You can't just get overwhelmed by the fact that it's the Oaks and the Derby and how many horses it is, because if you have a race where you truly do like one horse, whether it's an 8-horse field or a 20-horse field, you should still be able to bet the same way. If you truly like one horse in particular that sticks out like a sore thumb, stick to your convictions and just reap the benefits of having more potential profits and being able to Dutch by playing less money. Again, like I said, when we do our show and we give out best bet doubles, there's plenty of times I know where you, me, and Noah have had ones where we've done 1x2, 1x3, where it's like, yeah, this is our play of the sequence that we want to play around. So we pick a few realistics with it. And that's exactly what he's done here with, the two horses that he believes in the most. So I really do like this kind of angle and strategy. I'm guessing, Kyle, it's kind of how you were looking at it as well.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said, there's a lot of love in the chat for this type of situation, including the daily double guru himself. Matt Miller says, I like those bets. 6 combos, won twice, relatively skinny, but alive to some nice scores. And like you said, you have Tarifa, and like if Tarifa's not in the Oaks, I mean, not the favorite in the Oaks, especially, and the 8 to just a touch double is going to be a pretty decent amount. That Leslie's Rose to Sierra Leone double is going to be a decent amount. So even though, you're going to have basically these horses that are going off at 4, 5, 6 to 1 into horses that are going off at 3 to 1, there's going to be a pretty wide range of payouts in these fields. I think this is a fantastic strategy of going about it, where you're leveraging two strong opinions that you have, albeit if your strongest opinion doesn't win, but one of your secondary, it works like an ABC, right? An ABC ticket, where you have your strongest opinion. If your A, quote unquote, wins, then you're alive to 3 horses in the next leg. If your B's win, which is the 11 or 14, you're now down to your 1A in the next race, that being Sierra Leone. So I think this is structured very well, like I said, like that ABC type style ticket. So fantastic. No, I really like the way you are thinking. And I'm kind of thinking in a same wavelength. It's just a little bit more money-wise, but I was thinking in the same realm of possibility. Because this is what I did. I ended up going 8, 11, 13 with 2 8. So it's a little bit more combinations, but it's getting that one extra horse in the Oaks, then followed by 2 horses that I think are most likely in the Derby. Then if either my 8 or my 11 win, obviously Tarifa being my top 8, but I think Ways and Means has got a very, very good shot to win the Oaks. Then over 2 8. And then I actually threw Resilience in there, who I really don't think is completely out of it, being that he's going to get a really good trip. He's going to take back from the 19, be able to sit on the outside. So, and that's obviously my one long shot horse that I'm able to gain if one of my A's win the race. So kind of that same type of ticket construction, in where I gain an extra horse if one of my A's win. does end up being a little bit more money, which obviously does decrease the profitability. But that same type of wavelength is exactly what I'm thinking with Noah. So, like I said, even though Frozen Man is gone, and I'm looking at it right now, said
And I'll
Wi-Fi.
just say one more thing while
Yeah,
we wait
please.
on Noah. The one thing I like that you kind of did, and it was something I was, on the fence about doing myself. I just, again, since I was going 3x3, I wanted to kind of keep it there budget wise. But a horse I was thinking of, and again, we've talked about this all the time. And for me, again, I know the history couldn't be any further different from Mage, but nonetheless has been the horse that I've kind of been hyping up as like my Mage of this year, like a long shot that I continue to be high on and impressed me last time out is Just Steel. And I was really on the fence of doing something like that, what you're saying, of maybe trying to do like 8-11 with 2-4-8, and then maybe, or 8-11-13 with that, and then maybe try to just throw in one with Just Steel and go 4 deep in the Derby, or maybe take out one of Catching Freedom or Just a Touch and mix it in. And that's something I certainly, even though it's not on there, would have to at least consider. But I do kind of like your angle where, like you kind of did what Noah did, obviously with 2 instead of 1, but then also doing one where you at least mix in a long shot where you can get that, huge price. And again, obviously, you're the king of sort of doing doubles and touching and explaining it on our show. But I do think it's kind of cool that, again, from a budget perspective, if you have a long shot like that, you wouldn't have to use too much extra to throw a horse like that.
And that's right. So, you can always, like I said, if I was able to play that resilience double, like you said, Charlie, I wouldn't have to use as much because to be able to get sort of that same that same type of level of payout, because he's going to be 15, 18 to 1 in the Derby, and there's going to be a lot less money riding on those combinations, including resilience. Noah, the only thing that I talked about, we loved your strategy. There's a lot of love for you in the chat with your strategy. My double follows the same type of strategy where, we compared it to like an ABC method, right? If your A wins, which is Tarifa, you're able to gain those 2 extra horses in the Derby. Whereas, same thing that if your B's win in the first leg, you're only able to go to Sierra Leone. I followed that same type of strategy, albeit a little bit more combinations. I added just FYI in there in the leg. If she wins, then I'm only alive to 2-8. But if either Tarifa or Ways and Means wins, which are my 2 A's in the race, I gain the extra long shot of Resilience, who I don't think is out of it. So same type of wavelength for our 2 bets.
Yeah, I like it. Sorry about the Wi-Fi issue. I don't know what the hell is happening. But yeah, my thinking was similar, not necessarily like an A line and a B line, but obviously I've got a top pick in both races, which, it's not super creative, but it's Tarifa in the Oaks and Sierra Leone in the Derby. I wanted to get the chat involved and see what they thought, which I think it's awesome that they're chiming in, because I think.
Oh, no, dude.
Oh my God,
dude! Kentucky is dying out here. Again, too much love in the chat for Noah.
too many people are in Kentucky for the Derby. It's taking Noah's Wi-Fi.
Oh, he's back.
What happened?
You're just freezing. You just froze again. You're good, man.
Maybe it's just better. Maybe it's just better if I just say less.
No, well, no comment on that. I was gonna say,
was it bad?
No, it's fine. It just froze for a little bit. You're all good. Okay. You can finish up your thought, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's just, you can pick your top 3 or 4 in each leg and try and key that. And I wanted to see what the chat thought and what you guys want. Trying to put all bias aside. I think the Derby is probably a little more top heavy than the Oaks.
Yes.
So I'd probably be more inclined to do like 3x1 rather than 1x3, and then just kind of take my chance with, your topic, whoever that is in the Derby.
Right.
Just because I think the way I see it, there's probably 6 or 7 horses that can win the Oaks versus I think there's probably logically 4 or 5 that can win the Derby, even though there's more horses. Yeah, you have to think about it kind of in that sort of manner, and then from there kind of decide what you want to do, whether you want to go 3x1, 1x3, and then you can kind of formulate some of your opinions that way.
Well, and that's exactly right. I want to show a few chats here going through. Let's see.
Yeah,
so
I agree, Tom. Somebody's out there to get me.
Yeah, they're shutting down Kentucky's Wi-Fi.
It's somebody who doesn't either like Tarifa or Sierra Leone. Somebody's trying to take Noah out because they don't want to be able to preach about that horse.
Yeah, there you go. Marco Perez says daily double, 5'11 with 2.817. Same type of wavelength as a lot of us, but Torpedo Anna being in there instead of Tarifa. David Crawford says he's going all in there. He's going 5'811 with all, and then 5'811 with 2.48. So again, it just kind of depends on where your budget's sitting, albeit, you can have a little bit of, like I said, with these longer shots, you can have less money with them and still get a pretty decent payout. So there's definitely more ways you can go. I'm trying to find Nick Feldman's because I know he has a massive opinion with Torpedo Anna in the Oaks, and he's saying that since he's able to take a stand with Torpedo Anna, he's able to spread a lot more in the Derby with that same type of thinking. So I think a lot of good ideas from the chat in the double. Also, shout out to the man himself, Trevor of the Pump Fake Pod, who came on for our March Madness show. Thanks so much, man, for joining in. Greatly appreciate it, my friend, catching it live. But guys, let's move on to the turf pick 3 here. Or sorry, not the Oaks Turf Derby pick 3. Charlie, I'm gonna let you go first again here. You're 3x3x3 in this race, and this one is for a 50-cent minimum. The other one is $3 minimum, like the turf pick 3. This one is only 50-cent minimum. I'm gonna play mine for $1, but this is Charlie's going 3x3x3 in these races, and Charlie's going 5.811 with 5.611 with 2.48. Charlie, the only race we really haven't talked about in there is the Turf Classic, and there's many different ways you can go in that race too. So I wanted to just talk about, you were able to narrow it down to 3 horses in each race. What was your thinking behind that? And, do you have some stronger opinions in some races in, which way you're going in that regard?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think realistically, you could honestly say the Turf Classic could realistically be won by, I don't know, like 6 different horses. So, I mean, I remember I was literally talking to Noah before we went on, and I was trying to narrow it down. And I told him I felt like I got to a good start because I eliminated the 3 longest shots on the board, and I still had everybody else left. And then I had to keep watching replays and keep nitpicking to try to get it down lower. And honestly, it was funny enough by the time we were done with it, we ended up having the same 3 horses that we're on. Honestly, again, same kind of strategy ticket construction wise. I'm trying to not let, the moment get to me. I'm trying not to, let it that it's the Derby and that there's all these horses and all this different stuff get to me. I'm trying to, like you were saying, just narrow down to my ABCs, see who I feel the strongest about. And then ultimately, again, yes, and obviously in maybe a pick 4 or pick 5 that I play, I would maybe throw in another horse or 2 into some of these legs. But in a pick 3 for me, where it is obviously, a smaller bet, it's less races, and I feel more comfortable taking the chance to press up because I don't need to hit as many races in a row. I kind of am, content with just sort of, standing on business, if you will, and just going with who I believe in. And honestly,
there's one per show, one standing on business per show at this point.
Oh, there's going to be a few, but that's the first one of the evening. Everybody in the chat can start counting. But look, I'm very busy as a horse. I absolutely love, that horse at Gulfstream absolutely ran its heart out. Nearly ended up getting my goat warm heart, and that was a little scary. But ran a great race and then goes to Fairgrounds and draws to 13, which, was a little bit of a concern, but then ends up romping that field despite the turf conditions not being ideal. In terms of outside of that, obviously you have the overseas horse who made the debut, Naval Power, for Appleby and Dettori, who again also ran huge, but just obviously wasn't quite able to get the job done. But by no means ran any sort of bad effort, and I think honestly caught a lot of people's attention. And then I'll let Noah talk a little bit about more, and I'm curious what he thinks. But with the 5, that was one that I thought with program trading was extremely interesting, simply from a trip and talent, I guess also talent perspective for sure. But the layoff was my one concern. So no, I'm curious because I know you said the 5's your top pick, so I kind of want to hear your thoughts on program trading.
Sorry, yeah. You can bring mine up, Kyle. It's very similar. I'm pretty sure I'm 3x3x3 as well. I've got the same 3 kind of on the bookend legs as I did in the double, in those 2 bets. And then in the middle race, I'm exactly the same. It was so hard for me to separate those 3. I mean, that's just, if I had to kind of do an ABC, I'd probably just have those 3 on an A line. But all 3 of those horses are respectively, super talented. As Charlie pointed to, as of now, I've actually got the 5. Who was the 5?
Program trading.
Program trading.
Yeah, I've got program trading on top, who I can get into a little bit more just because this is not a handicapping show. We can save that for another time. But it's a really tough race, and going with 3 might not be the smartest thing. So what I could suggest is, maybe going skinnier in the first and the third, kind of similar to the double, where if you've got a stronger opinion in one of those, either the Oaks or the Derby, and then if you kind of like us, it seems like the vibe, if you really have no idea what to do in the turf races, you could just kind of use as many as possible. And you can also take advantage of the 50-cent minimum. It's not going to, exponentially make your bet so much more expensive to, add a horse or two rather than like the $3 minimum that we'll see in the next victory. You get the 50-cent minimum, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. And I thought it was a 50-cent bet. Someone said
I thought it was 50 cents.
Someone said $5. I thought it was 50 cent on the base of 50 cents. So still up reasons asking. I believe it's 50 cents minimum with the Oaks Turf Derby pick 3. I guess I thought I could be wrong. I thought I saw that in 2 places, but I could be wrong. Let me know if it is in the chat. Guys, I'm going to try and leverage something here. And so I went 4x4x2 instead. So guys, or 4x5x2, excuse me. So I went for $40 for a buck if we're playing it like that. Guys, the Oaks is I'm not a Torpedo Anna fan. I could be completely wrong on this horse. I'm much more intrigued to the horses to her outside. I can definitely knock that down as well, but I really, as Paul said on Picks and Ponies earlier, I know Leslie's Rose can win, and I know the 14 is going to hurt, but if she can tuck in, she's easily capable of winning, and I do not want to lose this bet if she does win this race. And I am going 4. We talked about, 3 horses of those 5 are probably your maximum, but for the extra like $8, I couldn't not have her in there. And as I noted to the turf races, guys, these turf races are ridiculous. I have no idea. There's so many different ways you can go, but shout out Voshan. I completely agree with you. I have integration in there for Shug McGahee coming out of the Maker's Mark mile behind Naval Power and Master of the Seas. I think he's got a very, very big shot. And as we'll talk about, and as you do, if you subscribe to the Power Picks, I'll give a little bit. Integration is my top pick in that race. I think he's going to run a really big race breaking from the inside. And I think 1 1/8 is exactly what this horse wants. Last time was a mile at Keeneland on the yielding turf. All of the above, I don't think is what the horse wants. Get back to Churchill, shorter grass, more like Aqueduct, more like Gulfstream that the horse is going to run on. I think he's got a massive, massive chance in the Turf Classic. So I threw him in there with a lot of the logicals. I actually threw Far Bridge in there as well, who was very good last year for Christophe Clement. I have program trading. I'm very busy in there. And of course I have the 11 Naval Power, but guys, I'm very high in integration in that race. And then in the last race, guys, of course it's 2-8. You guys know, I could be super right or super wrong this weekend. I don't like Fierceness on the win end. I just think there's a lot of pace. He's not going to get it the way he wants. I could be completely wrong. Everyone knows that. For me, it's either he wins or he finishes at 6th, maybe, if he doesn't get his way. So I'm only going 2-8. And if he wins, then I just lose. I just won't have my money on him in that race. But so I'm going to go leverage my opinion in the Derby while being able to spread elsewhere and include horses like Leslie's Rose. And with these, especially with these lower minimum bets, you find it easier to include other horses, right? So Christopher, the 8 is Just a Touch. So Just a Touch is the 8. I think that's one that could take a little bit step forward. 2 horses out of the Bluegrass, guys. I mean, there's no surprise in that. Nick Feldman asks, will you play this AB style where your A's have more base bet than one ticket and all the same price? So Nick, to kind of give you a little bit on how I play these bets, I will play this bet and I will play a press up ticket. So I'll play, like I said, like Tarifa, Ways and Means are my 2 A's in the Oaks. 8-11, probably with 1-5-11 in the Turf Classic, and then singling, and then probably go 2, or if I would either single Sierra Leone or go to Sierra Leone and just a touch. Either way, I will be playing a press up ticket just in case it does come a little bit more chalky, and I'm able to cash a little bit more on what would be a lower payout in the play. So Nick, that's a very good question. Like I said, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Paul B says, what do you think Ways and Means with fierceness will play? It depends on how the Oaks shape up, but no matter what, Paul, I believe you're going to get maybe like 12-1, 13-1. You might even get more than that. That with these pool sizes, you just don't know necessarily, because everything's more going to pay more than what you think it should pay. And I think that's the biggest thing too. And shout out to everyone. I see a lot of integration love in the chat as well. Oh, there you go. So current Oaks I forgot they were doing that the advanced wagering for the Oaks Derby double as well. 27-1 for Ways and Means and Fierceness. So I think you might get more like 18 to 20-1 on the day for that. Kyle's hater hedge. This is 5-all-17. That's absolutely what it is, TC Markham. And like I said, if someone plays that and hits it, Godspeed to them. I fully respect that. If someone pulls that out of their ass, I love it. Guys, let's move on to the next wager. And this is probably my favorite wager on the entire day. The $3 3-year-old pick 3, again, covering all 3-year-old races on Derby Saturday. That is the Pat Day Mile, race number 8, race number 9, the American Turf, and in race 12, of course, the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. I'll switch it up a little bit. Noah, I'll let you go first. And surprise, surprise, you're going super different on the ticking structure, my friend. You're going 4-8-12
super different
with 1-5-13 with 2-8-17. Again, similarities, of course, in the Derby, as we're carrying around a lot of that. But 2 races we didn't talk about: the Pat Day Mile and the American Turf.
Actually, this is the one, Kyle, where I made a little mistake. I was going to try and just single the 5 in race 9. I think that's the Euro Shipper. Charlie, what's the name of that horse?
That's correct.
Legend of I have something to say about that too.
I don't. The more I look at that race, the more I'm just not thrilled with the U.S. horses.
Yeah, it's fair.
Maybe that's just I saw the Transylvania in person. That race just didn't thrill me.
Before we keep going, are you just going 3x1x3?
Yeah, 3x1x3.
Okay.
$27, same as the other.
I see why you. Yeah, I got it now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first, I'll just go into the race 8. It's probably between Top Connor and Nash. There is a shit ton of speed in that race. Top Connor could certainly win, and I think the outside post helps him. But I think there's just a lot of speed. Maybe he can set off from the outside. And it's probably between him and Nash. I actually think Otto the Conqueror is a little interesting. I think maybe a little reverse try key action.
Oh, make the boss happy.
Yeah, he would love that. And then race 9, I don't know. It's like I said, although I think 2 prices who I originally had on there are the 1 Twirling Point and the 13 Can Group, if you're looking for prices in that turf race. And then the last one is the Derby. Just my top 3 in the race.
Like I said, we don't have to hit too much on the Derby, of course. I mean, we've talked about it. People are probably already bored of hearing all these.
Hey, Kyle, there's a lot of John McKee love in the chat.
Hey, I like that horse. I do. I'll talk about it in a second, albeit, though, I have him in 3rd, and I'm going very, very strong in the Pat Day Mile, and it's very uncharacteristic for me. I'll let you know right now, just based on who I like in that race. Charlie, going to you next, my friend. You're 2x4x3, so you're kind of in agreement that the turf is a little bit more wide open, albeit you do have the number 5 in there for Charlie Appleby.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, realistically, what I would do is I would take the 5 off that ticket and play that as my backup ticket and then play a major press up into the 5. I'll tell you what, I originally had it this way, and then I just didn't want to change it. But I was texting Noah before the show after I watched that last replay of the 5. That might end up being one of my plays of the day, and I agree with Noah. In a race before that, in race where obviously the Derby's kind of unpredictable, but I truly do think race 8 is pretty much just between Nash and Top Connor. I will probably end up playing an irresponsible double of the 8-12 Dutched into the 5 and just hammer it, because honestly, like Noah said, here's how I know I'm concerned about the rest of the field. I went through that race. I went through the American Turf, and I still found myself somehow going back to Cugino, who is one of the most heartbreaking horses you could possibly bet on, because you're getting second. You don't know how you're going to get second. It could be by 20 lengths. It could be by neck. It could be by a nose. He could win and get disqualified, but Cugino is going to get second. He loves second. So the reality for me is, if that's a horse that I truly believe could be, ultra talented in this field compared to the other American horses, that just speaks more volumes to me, on no disrespect, even though I like Cugino and it's a Gulfstream horse I've continued to chase. It makes me more confident in the 5, and I encourage and beg all of our viewers right now to watch that last replay of Legend of Time, because it is an absolute eye-opener that makes me love that horse. And there's one other horse I do want to touch on, a horse that I'm kind of surprised, because I believe Noah was actually on this horse. I'm surprised he didn't, say anything about it or have this horse mixed in somewhere on the ticket. But the one horse that I think is interesting to me is Laganos, the 3 horse, who I believe is 15-1.
I'll show it right now. Yep.
That's a horse who had only been on the turf other than the debut. They bring this horse back to the turf after the last effort was obviously extremely disappointing. I get that the horse ran against Timberlake, but I don't think they were expected to lose by 13 and drop a 71 after, an okay effort against Catching Freedom, who's obviously a monster. But I think this horse is kind of the wild card, like how Noah was saying, for prices to look for. I mean, granted, Cugino's 10-1 as well. I don't know what the odds are on the 6 horse in that race. Need is 6-1, so yeah, that won't be a race. But yeah, Cugino obviously is somewhat of a price. But I think the 3 has the most potential to take a step forward, because, like, we joke about Cugino, but we kind of know who Cugino is. The horse is going to run a very solid in-the-money race, is going to run in those 80s, and is solid. But we didn't know what the hell was going to happen with the 3. When Noah liked that horse and he thought the horse could be interested in switching to turf, I was like, I got to watch a race first. I got to see. But that was an effort I hadn't seen anything like since the debut, where I think I actually picked that horse on debut. And I was ultra impressed. As Gary said in the chat, the horse finished very well. Ed also talked about the horse was certainly closing with a purpose. So that would be my wild card. But yeah, I'll probably end up playing an irresponsible wager of the 8-12 into the 5 as well. But no, I agree. I think this is the most interesting and exciting sequence that we're covering, is this all 3-year-olds pick 3.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you by any means. And this is what, again, very uncharacteristic for me for the amount of shit that I've talked on this horse for the longest time. I'm singling Nash, guys. I'm going 12. I'm 6 deep in the American Turf.
Thank God you got the 5.
I have no, like I said, but Charlie, I'm glad you brought that up, because like I talked about before, this would be my main ticket, but I would love to press up 12-5 with the 4 horses or maybe even adding more horses in the Derby due to the fact that I'm able to press up in legs. But then I'm like you said, Noah, like the 5 is actually pretty light on time form numbers. And I won't take too much thunder, because this is a race that Powered Pete and Paul will talk about it, guys. But time form has this horse pretty low on speed numbers at 99. You can see right here. The best race this horse ran is a 99, albeit, Charlie, very wrapped up, as you said. That it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
all the comments say easily. So he hasn't really gotten a chance to show his best, which I think could come up on Saturday with a very kind of lackluster American field. I don't disagree with Noah by any means. I'm singling Nash, and I could be completely wrong. I loved the turn back. And we talked about it at length of how much we hated Nash going 2 turns, and he turns back to a mile and brings out a side of him that we really haven't seen before. That stalking off the pace trip, which I think in this race is going to be exactly what needs to be the key to win. I completely understand everyone's love for Top Connor in this race, and it's rightfully put so. This is what time form has for the pace projection. Has a fast pace. The 11 in Vlalos, it was very fast out of the gate. Shout out West Coast bias for Doug O'Neill. Went straight to the front.
That horse flies.
Extremely fast. He's going to give Top Connor everything he wants. I mean, look at these. I mean, you even 122, 112, 113, 114. I mean, you have a lot of horses that are going to want to vie for this lead. I just don't see. I don't see Top Connor getting loose, I guess. And if Top Connor had a lot less speed to deal with off the turnback from the mile and an eighth, I would absolutely love him in this spot. I just thought we saw a side of Nash in the last race that he ran, which was that stake at Oaklawn. It's getting past me right now what the stake is. I'll pull it. It's the Hot Springs, the listed stake. I just think a different side of Nash was brought into the fact once he turned back to that mile. And I think coming into this race, he's set up for a really nice trip and could really relish that long Churchill stretch closing from the outside. And to the point, maybe I will play a ticket with Top Connor. I'll probably play with less horses in the middle and maybe like 2-8 in the Derby or something like that. But singling Nash in the first leg allows me to have so many horses in the second and third leg, which creates a $72 ticket for a 3. But that allows me to include horses like Resilience and Neat in the American Turf. And like Charlie said, the number of the Cagino and Agate Road, the 14 in there. So just allows me to really diversify my risk if I'm really just take a stand on business, check it for number 2 with Nash in the Pate Mile. And obviously, like I said, if you like Top Connor, you can follow this same exact type of structure, the same type of ticket construction, but Top Connor into a bunch of horses that you like in the American Turf. Although I do have an attaboy Kyle from Paul Halloran and a totally agree from the boss man on Nash, which means, maybe I'm in the right. I don't know. We got two astute minds coming at me.
Yeah, no, the one thing I was just going to counter, though, because I still have seen, obviously, there's a ton of love for Nash in the chat, but I also still have seen a little bit of love for Top Connor. The one thing that I personally keyed in on that I was very impressed is, for starters, in the Bluegrass, I don't want to say it felt forced, but I kind of felt like it was kind of like a screw it. If this horse happens to, be a monster and gets into the Derby, then great. But I don't think Top Connor was really meant for the Derby. And I think because of how talented that field was with more experienced horses that were more clearly on the Derby trail, they kind of just understood, especially with the position drone as well on the rail, that they just had to send like hell. But if you watch that debut, Top Connor beat Military Road, who in his own right is a very talented horse, in my opinion, and was able to sit a stalking trip a couple lengths off the lead, bide his time, and then just flew by easily late. And Military Road, trying to close, couldn't catch up. So that's the one thing I will counter is I don't think Top Connor will get loose either, but I also don't think Top Connor needs to get loose.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I wanted to ask you, I'm very curious about, because for me, and I know Noah didn't have this horse, one of the horses I literally smiled ear to ear to toss was Agate Road, just because I think it's too short, and this horse loves to be that horse that flies too late. And see, less experienced Charlie would be all over Agate Road because it's a deep closer, is going to fly late. I'm going to get all excited, and then I'm going to bitch about how the wire came too soon. And I feel like I don't see how that doesn't happen to Agate Road again. So that's the only other thing I wanted to ask as we kind of talk about each other's tickets.
But my one thing, right, Charlie, though, is that since I went skinny in the first and I'm able to take Nash, I'm able to throw horses, because if Agate Road beats you, you're just like, how the fuck did I not have this horse in here? It's like, why didn't I add this horse in here for the extra, $8 or whatever it is. And we talked, there's a last horse we'll talk about, then we'll move into the Derby Superfecta, because that's going to be the biggest, the biggest dollar amount that we're going to talk about. So I'm looking in the chat. Brad Anderson says, that's exactly what I talked about, Brad, right? So you could do a pyramid pick 3 approach as well, leveraging Nash, play a skinny ticket for $12, maybe singling the 5 in the second leg if we think the American horses are just not up to what Appleby could be bringing over for 12, and then spread for 3 with that main ticket that I showed you. I don't disagree with you, Brad, by any means. I love that type of approach to these types of tickets, just like Noah had right in the Oaks Derby double. That same type of thinking. Guys, looking through these comments real quick. Actually, I will bring up Houday, because Houday, as a horse that I have third for the Pate Mile, and I really don't think is completely out of it. Noah laughs, the John McKee love. We laugh about it, but this horse is, this turn back to Churchill and Keeneland have been two very impressive runs, and you see he's coming out of a lot. I mean, Bergen came back to win after that. This improvement to Keeneland, I think, is what people really wanted to see. They went 22-1 and 44-4, albeit that seems a little bit fast. It was not very fast for Keeneland on how speed favoring that track was early in the meet, as that was April 5th. Glenn Gary ended up winning that race, who's not a slouch in his own right. So Houdet could definitely be one. That's another one to pick up the pieces, right? If Top Connor does end up getting into a duel up front and is not able to finish, who's going to come from the back with Nash? Houdet is definitely one that could be coming at a price. So that's definitely one thing to say. So, and he is an Ohio bred too. That's also a cool thing to bring up. So
Kyle, if I may add,
yeah,
just going back to your ticket, I think the more I think about it, I think that's a really good idea, because you can, hammer your opinions in that pick 3. But then also, if you want to try and back yourself up, you can take advantage of the fact that the first 2 legs of this bet are races 8 and 9 on the same day. So you can kind of take advantage that those are back-to-back races on the card. If you think the Patsy Miles, a 2 or 3 horse race, you can use those 2 and then try and pick a couple in the American turf and try and back yourself up that way.
And leverage it with a double or something like exactly. And that's why these bets are so nice in the fact someone said it was a fantastic leveraging race, like a fantastic hedge bet. This $3 pick 3 could exactly be that. If you're playing like a $3 pick 3 or with a pick 5, you could leverage it that way. There's just so many different ways you can go about it, I think. And obviously a lot of different people have different opinions, different ways of looking at things, and I think that's why I love having these discussions on ticket construction, as it just brings in a whole bunch of different ideas into what's a good idea up front and can be used with so many different horses. I think that's why this discussion is just fantastic to have. Guys, superfecta, like I said, this is going to be the biggest dollar amount, and I completely understand for lower, budget players, this is definitely not. And, we'd have to slim this down personally for my own budget. But for the superfecta, again, shout out Racing Downwind. I think he hit it for the Oaks last year, but he played a $240 ticket. But even he played a $240, it was like 30,000 or something like that, and that was for $2. So 15,000 for $1 last year in the Oaks. Like, if you can afford to, playing a bigger ticket in these supers can definitely pay off in the long run, no matter who you have coming in front or in second. Granted, that was won by Pretty Mischievous last year, who was, I believe, definitely double digits. I think maybe 12-1, something like that last year in the Oaks. And of course, that always helps boost the price up. Noah, I'm going to let you go first. And we talked about earlier how you think it's pretty top heavy in the Derby, and you're going top heavy in the super. You're going to just 3x3 on top with a whole bunch of horses underneath, including the horses that just drew into the Derby today. If they choose to run. I've been out. Honestly, I was golfing earlier. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, you guys saw it. I don't know if they already declared that they're going to the Derby, but you have Epic Ride in 3rd and 4th as well.
Yeah. So just kind of going off of the idea that I think it is a little bit top heavy. I'm going to try and be a little bit lighter in the first, 2 spots to run 1st and 2nd, just because if I think it's going to be a little more formful, there isn't necessarily a reason to add more horses in the 2nd leg. I mean, if you think a horse can win, obviously the horse can finish 2nd. And then going into the 3rd and 4th legs, originally I tried to kind of split it in half, where I kind of, maybe use 10 in each spot, or you go 8, 10. Try and, split the field in half there. To try and cut for budget purposes, I ended up with 7 each. The horses I ended up including are Catching Freedom, the 4. I've got Just a Touch in there. The 14 is Endlessly. The 15 is Domestic Product. 17 is Fiercest, obviously. And then the 21 Epic Ride, who just got in. So I think, those 3 or 4 that I listed are certainly contenders, and I think might get a little overlooked. You can get those prices, in 3rd and 4th, and there's going to be a lot of money in that pool. Everybody and their mother's going to be playing that bet. So if you just got to be right, and if you're right, then it's going to cash well.
Well, and especially if you think it's a top heavy race, you're able to save a little bit of money on the front end and go heavy on the back end and with third and fourth to where, basically anything can happen. It's the Derby, guys. I don't need to repeat that anything can happen in the Derby. Of course it can. And your ability to have these horses that come in, in third and fourth grows dramatically. And if you get like a 30, like you said, you get Epic Ride in there, who's going to go off probably at 35, 40 to 1. You get him in third, that instantly just completely increases, and my mic attacks me, instantly increases the payout that would have otherwise. So I love it. Noah, like I said, if you think it's only a 3-horse race, makes no sense to include other horses, at least on the top end, if not in second as well. Charlie, bringing up your superfecta right now, and yours is definitely a little more pricey. I'll lead that out by now, but
sorry, I can't contain myself.
No, it's dude, Charlie, you're more than welcome to talk about it. It is very pricey. 248 with 24678 with a whole bunch of
okay, it's okay.
Okay, what do you want to do?
It was supposed to be, I think, 3 by 5 by 7 by 7. Yeah, because I didn't want to have any of my top 3 in the third and fourth legs. It's supposed to be 248 by 24678 by 167 11 17 18 19, and then you just do that twice for third and fourth.
So
3 by 5
I
by
guess
7
I
by 7.
want to talk about then with your ticking instruction. If you have the horses in first and second, why are you not having the horses in third and fourth?
Simply just because for my strategy personally, we talked about in all these other, sequences, how I had the same 3 horses, 2, 4, 8 that I, sort of believe in. And for me, I kind of am willing, how we've talked about kind of with the fiercest angle of if you just want to play against that horse, play against the horse. I'm willing to just trust in my top 3 that I really believe in, that they're coming in the top 2. And you know what, if they end up finishing, third or fourth, and it screws me, then so be it. But I kind of decided I had to cut it down some way, and I couldn't really afford to go 10 and 10, so I couldn't put them in those legs as well. So I kind of just decided, hopefully, they come 1, 2, and then if they don't, then maybe they just don't run that well. Then I put some of my horses that I believe in for second as more price plays, like Just Steel and Honor Marie, who's a horse I feel like we haven't talked about as much as maybe people.
Sorry, Charlie, real quick. Sorry, guys, I forgot to mention this is a $1 superfecta, so there's no 10-cent supers. I think the dollar superfecta was introduced last year with the Derby, and now gets included again this year. It's a $1 denomination. So Noah's ticket was $120 for $1. I will do the math right here to get Charlie's up on the screen right now with Charlie. Sorry, continue with your analysis.
And so, yeah, I was just kind of trying to find other horses to mix in there. I mean, again, like admittedly with the dollar, obviously it being a dollar budget, and also me personally not being someone who particularly plays superfectas often. I know we talked about from a budget perspective, this obviously isn't, the easiest bet to find, the space in your budget to fit in. But as you also touched on, there's huge potential to win. But then, yeah, in terms of, other horses I mix in, like I was talking about, I put Just Steel and Honor Marie in second and third, because those are some horses that I'm obviously very keen on that I've talked about. And then in terms of other horses, I mean, look, us three at least have talked about a lot that we're not high on Forever Young, but I still think the horse is good enough to finish third or fourth. Dornock, who I know is kind of very hot and cold in people's opinions, either love or hate, but Noah and I, who have Dornock on our team and still think, maybe the last race was kind of more of a sacrificial race to try something new, and clearly it didn't work. So I'm willing to look past it and look at the other work that's been done and think this horse has a real shot. In terms of other horses mixing in, obviously I had to put Fierceness somewhere. Again, I didn't want the horse in my top 2 because it, won't pay as well, and it's a horse that I'm very against. And then also Stronghold and Resilience. I just think Stronghold could be interesting. I know Noah loves his Cali horses, so he probably likes that. I'm respecting the horse. And then, like you touched on earlier, Kyle, where you chose Resilience as your long shot. I kind of feel the same way. I think Resilience could end up working out a great trip. That was a horse that Noah and I had given out that we I could know if I choose to go all in for the weekend on just the superfecta. It's just a question of if I decide.
That's bold, my friend.
That would be all my
profit
that I made at the Breeders' Cup would have to go towards that bet. So, yeah, I mean, thank God we're doing a show every single day of the week, so I could have some extra money then left over from this to be able to actually bet other races. But yeah, I don't know if I have $500 for one race to bet, but I digress. Yeah, in terms of the Yeah, the other horses that I wanted to mix in. I was just trying to find some more step potential. No one I gave out Resilient, so it is a horse I believe in. And I kind of just decided if I'm going this deep anyway, I just got to pick the horses I absolutely hate and leave them completely out.
No one, I gave out Resilience. All right, I'm so over it. No one gives me
you did too?
No one gives me the respect I deserve around here.
That's a co-host fail right there.
That's an absolute co-host fail.
Well,
I was the only one to have him in my top 4, let alone freaking Jesus Christ.
No, I meant I didn't mean in this race. I meant in the race where Resilience won. I just didn't think you had Resilience because I don't think Resilience was the favorite. So I assumed that would mean automatically you didn't have the horse in that race. Maybe I'm wrong.
TC goes, that is way more than 240.
I did it on the calculator. I could be wrong. I did it 3 by 5 by.
Jim said 504. That's a big discrepancy.
Wait, did you use the trustworthy horse racing calculator app?
Yeah, I did. I did. That's 3 by 5 by 7 by 7. That's 240. But guys, look, the superfecta is super tough to hit. No pun intended. You're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to invest to be able to hit this bet. Maybe if you're just a savant, you can go 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. Or if you're Howard, you go 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 because he's so good he can finish in all spots. The game's easy. It's just Sierra Leone finishes every position. The game's easy. I went to 144 for my superfecta, guys, and like I said, I'm very against fierceness. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I don't like fierceness in this race. And so I'm not going to have him anywhere near my top line. I have 2 horses that in my eyes can win that I'm going to try and leverage. It's Sierra Leone and Just a Touch. I'm really high in Just a Touch, as you guys know, if you guys watch the Kentucky Derby show. 2 on top for me, but that allows me again to go more underneath by 2, 4, 8, 19. That's Sierra Leone, Catching Freedom, Just a Touch, and Resilience. Again, Noah and Charlie are the only ones who gave out Resilience. 2, 4, 8, 11, 17, 19 for me in the 3rd position. Sierra Leone, Catching Freedom, Just a Touch. That's Forever Young that I added in there in the 3rd spot. Fierceness makes his appearance in 3rd and 4th for me with Resilience. And then 4th place, guys, I am 9 deep in the 4th place position. I just think, again, as you guys know, trifectas and superfectas are not my forte. So I would like to have in these 3rd and 4th positions being able to add more and more. I think that is going to only benefit you. And obviously you can add more for less money in 3rd and 4th. I have, again, Sierra Leone, Catching Freedom. That's Anna Marie, the 7 that I threw in there. Just a Touch, Forever Young. The 12 track Phantom I put in there. Think he might be able to run a sneaky good 4th in this race. The 15. And if I can remember correctly, the 15, that's Domestic Product. I can remember. Fierceness and Resilience, $144. Again, not a very big ticket by any means for the superfecta, but being able to key 2 horses on top is what. And Gary pointed out key 2 horses. Someone talked about Sierra Leone and Fierceness. Again, completely within the same regard, and then you can use more horses underneath. It's the biggest thing for the ticket construction, guys, is you can use the same concept for a lot of different horses, no matter where your opinions lie. Of course, my lie with Sierra Leone and Just a Touch. If you think Fierceness is going to win, you can go to if Sierra Leone, Fierceness, and go with everybody else, and you're still going to get paid a decent amount because no matter what happens in the Derby, the value lies where the value lies. Guys, you guys can check my potential bet costs. That's for $1. That's since I have no idea.
My finals is ended, so anything that has to do with school,
it's 48. It's like I said, guys, you're going to have to invest in this to be able to hit it. And like I said, Coran, thanks so much for joining the show. Coran says Derby winner 17 Fierceness, 2 over 4, 6, 7. There's so many different ways. So then Paul B 17 with 4, 7 on top with all same type of. It's a $1 more calculations. We only need math on this show. Only math. I know, Jim. I'm just messing with you. I appreciate it though. I'm good. Charlie's the one that messed up, and that's fine by me.
Wait, I messed up. I didn't even put in the total. I think they also might have been calculating the first bet that you showed of mine, Kyle, where you showed I was like 50 by 50 in the last 2 legs. because when I put in the updated one, I got the same math as you with my trustworthy website. Again, shameless plug, even though we're not sponsored. So I think Kyle actually got it right there.
All right, sorry. I
Get this kid off the screen.
And I'll end with this.
Hey, at least I'm not lagging.
Triple I EMC says, what happens to all your bets if Fierceness wins?
We move.
I lose.
We move. It is what it is. Can't happen.
I lose.
Can't happen.
Again, stand on business. Thanks for coming out, and I'll go to my
bus. Load
up the bus. I'll jump on the bus, and I'll say, see you guys later. I was just wrong. Guys, I can handle if I'm wrong. I've been against Fierceness this whole time. I just don't again, I'm not going to hammer this too hard. I just don't like the position that I think he's going to have to face in the race, either 4 wide or he's got to stalk. It's just not I just don't like him. And if he wins, I lose. And that's just the way it goes. Even when I win, I lose. I lose. I lose. I win. I lose. It's the way it goes.
The one other thing I think that's important to consider is I will warn those viewing. I am coming in with the mentality that I will be winning every single bet I place. And if I don't have Fierceness, you might want to plan accordingly. You might want to plan accordingly.
And then
Kyle doesn't know what's going on.
But see, and then again, if you're not a person with that that likes doubles, likes superfectas, Brad Anderson, no superfecta wager for me. Take this money and invest in rolling daily doubles for the day. It's just that's the beauty of the Derby, guys. Is with all these different weight. He's a very smart guy. Maybe if a previous BC, tournament winner brings anything to mind of why he's a smart guy. Mentioning. That's just a way it goes, but you're going to find value no matter where you go on this day and on this whole weekend. Take advantage of it. And again, you can you don't have to take our opinions, but I think a little bit of a ticket construction here and there, I feel like, thank you, Tom. See, we're good. We're good here. All hail the Daily Double players. That is right. Shout out. Daily Double Roscoe got second in the ESPN pool this year. And I don't know where the hell Charlie finished, but that's just,
that doesn't have anything to do with
it. It has everything to do with
it. I finished in the top 10, even though I was cooked because I nailed everything else. And I said it was UConn from the jump.
It always has something to do with it, Noah. It always has something to do with it. And hey, whatever. I like that. Vince Watson show parlay. You want to start? Boys want to do a weekend show parlay? I'm in for that. All right, Noah's already out. That's but either way, boys. Like I said, it's going to be an absolutely fun weekend, no matter which way you play it. And Howard, I'm not showing that. I'm not showing that comment, and I will definitely. I'm not one to jump in front of a bus. That's all I'm saying in that way. But like I said, guys, again, I'll stop getting distracted. ADD is going to stop going nuts. Whether you agree with our opinions or not, I feel like the different ways you can construct a ticket are definitely something that needs to be talked about. And going with, especially with the $3 3-year-old pick 3, you have that $3 base minimum. So the best way to maximize your opinions is leveraging your strongest opinion in that sequence. And for me, it's Nash. I'm able to single Nash, which allows me to go 6 deep by 4 deep into those next 2 legs. There's just many different ways that you can kind of structure tickets around profitability. Paul B., you should go watch our show yesterday where we gave a full review of the entire Oaks field. Everyone on the screen, though, is a big fan of Tarifa. That is what I will say. Paul, I got you, man. Don't you worry. But Terry Frank, thanks so much, man, for the nice and win bet parlay on Oaks Morning, race 2, race 5, and race 9. Nick, dude, I love the way we think, man. But like I said, above all else, guys, just try and leverage your best opinions. As the best thing that Matt Miller has ever told me, and that I'll relay to all you guys. If you're not making the most money on your best opinion of the day, if you're not making the most money on the day of your best opinion on the day, then you didn't hit the horse hard enough, or you're playing too much on other horses throughout the day. If you have one big opinion on the entire day, that's the horse you should be hammering. And that should be some of the best betting advice you'll ever get in this game. But just a really fun show, guys. Thank you guys all for the chat interaction. It was fantastic to see all your opinions, all your tickets. And if you guys are watching this on a replay, please post them down below. If you have a Derby pick, a Derby superfecta ticket, a pick 3, any of the pick 3 tickets, Oaks Derby double, anything you have, or if you just have thoughts about the show, please put them below. Would love to read them. And if we respond to every single comment in the below the video player. But for my co-hosts, Charlie Freeman and Noah Maher, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, episode 75 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, talking ticket construction and all the 2-day and 3-year-old wagers, including the Derby Superfecta on Derby weekend. Let's absolutely crush our bets this weekend, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone, so we can all win a ton of money this upcoming Derby weekend. Thanks again so much, everybody, for joining the show. Have a great night.